by the great Wayne from Prisons of Prague that perhaps his dog's well-being is more important than talking about Kansas. You know, and I understand that. I've got 2 dogs, so if he pops off and disappears, you are forgiven, but only just for a brief moment. Greetings, salutations, respect, and love, everyone. Welcome to Sunday Prog Stream number 22, man. They said it wouldn't last, but here it is. Wow, I've got a superstar lineup today, man. This is going to be great as we discuss America's greatest prog band, Kansas. I've got his debut on the Prog Corner. It's Harold, all the way from the Netherlands, from Harold's Prog Rock Show. How you doing, Harold?
Yeah, I'm doing fine, and I'm very excited to be on your show because I'm an early follower from your channel.
You are.
In the early days, 2 years ago, I think, 2.5 years ago.
One of the first.
Yeah, and my channel is also 3 years old, and I have, of course, subscribers, and I'm into prog since 1978, so a long-time follower. And I'm also listening to the new ones. So the new Kansas is in my collection. Yeah. I like that.
Love it.
All albums.
Good stuff,
Almost
man.
all albums, I have to say. Almost all albums.
Yep. There's 1 or 2 I'm not 100% crazy about. But
yeah,
Wayne,
that's right.
We got Wayne from Prisons of Prague right next to Harold, at least how I'm seeing it on my screen. Wayne, how you doing in Alberta today?
Oh, it's warmed up. Went from about minus 58 now. Today it's plus 6 Celsius. So
yeah,
really good. Just finished filming my second bunch of reactions for the channel. After this, if you want to check it out, I just posted my Genesis live of Dancing with the Moonlit Night from 1973.
Ooh.
So go check that out. And so many more coming up, just different stuff on Prisms of Prog. I'm going to be this week. I mentioned it to Cody and on the stream last night we did about our top 10 Metallica songs. So after the stream, go check that one out. I'm going to be doing a full album reaction to Metropolis Part 2 by Dream Theater. I've never heard it before.
Oh,
that's one of the albums when you asked me to look at Dream Theater before that I intentionally left off because I'm like, I know I want to film that one.
That's a heavy hitter, man.
Perfect album.
And then underneath Wayne, I'm looking at Cody, the man who is just on fire right now. He's into so many different things, from Cody Brockway's Vinyl Bites and Prog Radio. Now he's got his own show there. He's got another radio show. Tell the people all the stuff you've been doing and where they can hear you and at what times and all of that.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. I'm the man on fire. I'm like the guy from the Pink Floyd cover, right?
Yeah, that's him.
Yeah, I mean, thanks, Scott. I got a lot of fun stuff going on. Obviously, there's lots of cool stuff happening on Brockway's Vinyl Bites right here on YouTube. So go check that out if you haven't already. This coming Thursday is going to be February 1st, and I've got my first show, which will be on Prog Radio with Mr. Kevin and company over there. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then the Thursday after that, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I've got my first live show happening on Deep Nuggets Radio. That's a 3-hour extravaganza. I'm importing probably 10,000 CDs to have in my digital library to be able to bring a great show over there too. So yeah, stay tuned. Deep Nuggets Radio and Prog Radio. Yeah, lots going on. And Brockway's
you do. Too. And rightfully so. You bring a whole new attitude and spirit to this tired old dinosaur genre they call prog. We're not going to let that happen. We're going to make sure when new voices, new talent comes to the forefront. Me and Kevin actually referred to you as a lottery pick the other day, and I stand by it.
Thank you guys.
Cody, we've got Pontus, the Swedish prog nerd, back for his 4th or 5th time on the Sunday Prog stream. How you doing, Pontus?
I'm doing fine. I'm doing okay here. As a few of you know, I'm part of the Contrarians, and as far as prog goes, they just posted a a video on the evolution of prog metal, and we also recorded just today. We recorded, is every concept album a prog album?
Okay.
So that will come out soon. So if you want to see me there, you can go over.
I do, and I want to see how you guys somehow, some way wrap your twisted logic around Frank Sinatra's songs for swinging lovers as being prog, because that's a concept album, my friend. So I'll be real interested in hearing that. Alex, from the Beer and Vinyl channel, what do you think about this crazy premise that Pontus just threw in there, that every concept album is by definition prog?
Well, it's conceptually progressive in its nature, is what I'm sure what the tie-in. It's like when people say one of the first that Sgt. Pepper was a concept album, and therefore, but it's a loose concept, all that kind of stuff. So totally get that. But hey y'all, Beer and Vinyl. I show a lot of records and I drink a lot of beer. So if you're into either of those things or neither of those things or both of those things, that's what we do over here. And supporting my Winery Dog shirt today for any of the music fans out there of those three amazing people. And that's an awesome excited for the show.
Love it. I've been told by certain people that my prowess as a live presenter perhaps needs a little bit of polish. Maybe I'm not the best at the live streams as I am with my stellar long form content that you guys enjoy Monday through Wednesday on the show. Yeah, I admit it. I may not be as good as, certain people that do live streams. Even, man, Alex, your live stream was amazing. Cody, the live stream you've been doing, I get it. So I'm going to take a minute and appease the people and read a couple comments. Molly Whipple, she's going to be the first one I read because Molly Whipple was the very first person who ever commented on any video ever on the Prog Corner. An amazing feat, I gotta say, and I'll never forget it. Who are the other candidates besides Kansas to be, the best American prog band? Is it Styx? Is it Dixie Dregs, Ambrosia, Captain Beyond, Happy the Man, Journey, Starcastle, Zappa? Anybody got any others to add to that short list? Because that's a pretty good short list right there, man.
Yeah,
covering a lot of ground.
You know what? For American bands, I'd add probably either, in the more hard rock vein, I'd probably maybe add Aerosmith, because I know it's not prog really, but I love Aerosmith and they're one of the greatest American rock bands. Then you got, look at the 90s metal thing that was going on.
And I think Kevin just pointed out here a couple people.
I would add the first and second album from Angel.
Oh,
do you know Angel? Yeah,
I love Angel.
Great stuff.
Casablanca Records, man.
And of course, Cathedral.
Yeah.
Do you know Cathedral?
Speaking my language, all that old Ameriprog like Cathedral and Mirthrander and Yezda Urfa and all that stuff. I'm a big fan of those bands.
Yeah.
But
I hear that Terry Bozzio was a bit of a fan of the Angel guys.
Yeah. Okay. UK. Danger Money.
So, I will make a case that Kansas is the greatest of all American prog bands. We had my good friend from Poland point out Todd Rundgren's Utopia. Their first album, probably the greatest single American prog album ever. But, besides Raw, they never really reached those heights again. Kansas has been doing great stuff for 50 years, man. So today we celebrate them, and we're going to talk about their 10 best songs and, the quintessential American band. We're going to start off with a dude from Holland and Harold from Harold's Prog Rock Show. Yeah. He's going to break down his top 10 Kansas tracks.
I will mention... I decided to take 10 CDs, 10 albums from Kansas out of my collection. And number 10 is from the album The Prelude Implicit. And the first song, With This Heart, is my number 10 because I like those last two Kansas albums. This one is also really great. The last one with Tom Brislin on keyboards. You know this man from Yes Symphonic. I've seen him live in Amsterdam with Yes in 2000. But this album is great, I think, and Kansas is doing a nice job.
Yeah, no, and a point about that album, there's a song on there called Refugee, which has a co-write from Mike Slamer from the great City Boy.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Always got to give City Boy a shout out whenever I can.
Yeah, that's great. Then my number 9 is the comeback album from 2000, Somewhere to Elsewhere, with Carrie Livgren back in the band. So that was really great. And the song which I like most is Myriad. Sorry, Myriad.
That's a good one.
It's a short song from 5 minutes, and that's for me the greatest song from this comeback album.
No, I love that whole thing. I think that's a great album, actually. It's the whole band back together with Billy Greer. I guess Dave Hope's only on a couple tracks. And it feels like it's the band back together. And Steve Walsh's voice, maybe not 100% at this point, but I love that album. Good call, Harold.
Yeah. And then we go to Freaks of Nature. Also, I think a good album. Livgren is not on this album, but I think with Steve Walsh, it's still a good album. And the song I have chosen from this album are very small letters. Peaceful and Warm. That's the last song from this album.
Yeah,
it's from the 90s, 1995.
Yeah,
Freaks of Nature.
That's us.
The violins were back in Kansas.
Yeah.
Okay,
next one. Audio Visions, also good, I think. Nice artwork. The song I've chosen is Curtain of Iron. Curtain of Iron.
Oh,
Maybe, yeah. I don't know if you know this song. It's from Audio Visions, and it's a good one.
It's a great one.
Great song.
And you notice a lot of bands were doing songs about like the Iron Curtain and stuff at that particular time.
Yeah, that's right. This one is from 1980. Yeah. Okay, we go to Monolith. Monolith, the last song, Reason to Be. And this one has the classic lineup with Livgren, Walsh, and Steinhardt, and all the other guys.
Awesome.
I love Monolith. Love it.
Okay, then a real classic, Point of No Return. In the Netherlands, very popular because of Dust in the Wind. That was a number 1 hit single in the Netherlands. So this album was very, very popular in 1977. And the song I've chosen from this classic is, I have look, Hopelessly Human. The last song from this album, Hopelessly Human.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Yeah, I like it.
Good choices so far.
Yeah.
Next one, Mask.
Ooh.
Sorry, guys, but the artwork I don't like. But the album is good.
Really? I like the artwork on that. Hey, what don't you like about the artwork on Mask? I think it's cool, Harold.
Yeah, do you like it?
I do. Okay. I do.
But I like the music, and the Pinnacle, the last song, is the best song. The Pinnacle.
Yeah.
More on that album soon.
Yeah. More on that later.
The first one, I think this is Scott's favorite, isn't it? Okay.
It is.
Again, the last song, and that's called Death of Mother Nature Suite. I think it's very, very progressive.
Yes, it is.
Lots of changes in the melodies and song structure. So it's really great. And then we go to Song for America. And that's the second album, actually. And the song I've chosen is the last song. It's called Incomudro Hymn to the Headman. And it's 12 minutes long.
Yeah. There you go, Wayne.
In the middle of the song, there's a drum solo.
Which is even better on the live album.
Yeah. The live album 2 for the show, also very nice. Okay, this one, and then my number 1 is
Number
actually
one,
from
Harold. Number one.
number 1. Yes, from Left Overture. It has to be Magnum Opus.
Yeah.
That's for sure my number 1.
Yeah.
I think that's the best Kansas song ever made, and it's also the last song on the live album. And the crowd went bananas on this one because the music is so great, very progressive, and
Great
very
live
bombastic. Very bombastic. Great stuff.
Beautiful.
Okay.
Hard to
That was
argue
my top 10.
that has Magnum Opus at number 1.
Yeah. Thank you.
I like it. Good job. I think you did an amazing job. Now it's time. We're going to break down Wayne. And Wayne, what do you know about Kansas? How deep is Kansas in your musical background? How did you come to them? And what's your story with them?
Came into them, I think, like a lot of people my age, with the song Carry On My Wayward Son.
Yeah.
Like, hear that all the time on the radio and was like, who is this? And then Supernatural came out and they used it as an anthem for years, and great song. But I'm probably one of the ones, I didn't care much like for Dust in the Wind at all. It's just one of those songs I'm like, I just don't, it's just something I'm not huge on. But so starting the reaction channel, I started listening to some Kansas and found out I actually really like a lot of their stuff I've reacted to. So coming into
a lot
this,
of people come to Kansas thinking they're a pop band because they had a couple of hits, and you really got to kind of sell people on the idea that Kansas is prog. I don't get it, because their first 6 albums in particular just littered with nothing but prog, but it's that a couple of hit songs can do a lot to people's perception.
Yeah.
You know, but
so
it's all good. What do you got for us, Wayne?
Oh, well, like Harold, some of his are on my list as well, which it should be interesting. I didn't write these in any particular order, but I'll just kind of like I did last night with Cody, I'll just kind of go along and pick which ones I think fit where. Number 10 for me is Reasons to Be.
Wow. Getting some love.
Beautiful.
Yeah, really love that song. I heard it this week and I just had to keep playing it over and over. And one thing about Kansas, they have really great lyrics to their songs.
Yeah.
Like, they were fantastic. Like, especially when Carrie Livgren kind of took over a little bit, it really branched out into all these different avenues of talking about Native American culture, talking about kind of pondering the questions of life.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. On to song number 9 for me, Curtain of Iron from Audio Visions.
Okay. There you go.
Remember listening to that song and just absolutely loving it. And I think the reason why all those bands were writing those songs is that's around the time the USSR invaded Afghanistan. So it was probably on everyone's mind around that time, 1980. So I could see why they started writing about that and about cameras everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Song number 8 for me is gonna be Cheyenne Anthem.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Just a fantastic song. I remember the first time I reacted to it, I spent about a week listening to nothing but that song. I'm like, this is so great. Number 7 for me is The Wall.
Oh, yep.
The better, in my opinion, the better version of The Wall.
Not this one?
not the Pink Floyd one, but
the other
that's
one.
even a different. Cody showed even a different version. He's showing the Roger Waters one. So
that's the Live in Berlin. That's got Bryan Adams, Joni Mitchell. Anyway, you go.
Phil Earhart's drumming on The Wall, where he does that little counter rhythm. What is it, like in the second or third verse, instead of just playing it straight? It's just, It's such an understated song, so well written, so well placed on the album. To me, the whole album falls apart after Carry On Wayward Son. If you don't have the perfect second song, they nailed it. The Wall is just everything you want it to be. And part of the reason why Left Overture is so perfect is The Wall. Good call.
Yeah. Song number 6 for me, off of A Point to No Return, Spark of the Tempest.
Yeah, good one.
Interesting. Okay.
Just fantastic lyrical song. Great thing about Kansas is they had so many great songs that this was really hard to do. You could probably have like a top 20 or 30 list easily.
Easy.
On to number 5 for me, the title track from Song for America.
Yeah.
Okay.
There you go.
Great stuff.
About time.
Yeah.
And not
Song
the single
number
version.
4 is from the debut. I listened to it and I can't separate these two songs because they flow right into each other. Pursue Death of Mother Nature Suite.
Yeah.
Is my number 4, I believe.
Love it.
Number 3, also from the debut, Journey to Maria Braun.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And song number 2 for me, you mentioned Kansas. Everyone knows the song. When you ask Scott like how to tell people Kansas is a prog band, just listen to Carry On My Wayward Son. It's up there with the Stairway to Heavens, the Bohemian Rhapsodies. It's one of the most recognizable songs, and you could say, yeah, but it's progressive.
Absolutely.
And number 1 for me,
I know what it is.
is Inca Mudro, Hymn to the Atman.
Yep.
Yeah.
That drum solo was just fantastic. Like, just to listen to it and the whole song, I was just like, my jaw was on the floor pretty much the first time I heard the song. And then going back, listening to it, trying to figure out what he's doing is really cool. Like I said, my honorable mentions, Magnum Opus, Angels Have Fallen, The Pinnacle, Icarus, Born on the Wings of Steel. So many fantastic songs this band wrote.
And
my favorite song didn't make your top 10.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, because this is a band when they were good, when they were on, when you're talking about their best albums, there was no filler on those albums, man. They had, different flavors on you. Maybe you didn't like the straight ahead rockers as much as, the more proggy stuff, but every song on those first 6 or 7 albums, to me, absolutely perfect. Makes this impossible to do. So I'm wondering if Cody can even do better than Wayne, because that was a good list.
Well,
so it's not crap this week.
No. I'm kind of new in the sense that I've been a casual Kansas fan for a long time. Obviously, I grew up, hearing Carry On My Wayward Son and Dust in the Wind and all that on the radios and stuff. And I had listened to some of their albums before, but so I was always a fan. But now, like, much thanks to this special here today in the Prog Corner, it's really influenced me to I've become more of a fan than previously, and this was so much more enjoyable to listen to than the Vandergraaf. I have to say, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. This was an absolute pleasure.
Oh, that's fun.
This discography to get into this band is absolutely amazing. These guys are totally awesome. They are. I don't know why people would say that they're not prog. I don't know what they're listening to. I mean, maybe they think that I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, my number 10. I had to go. I don't have any props with me here today, but I had to go with something from the new album because I think that album is totally fantastic. I had to do the title track from the most recent Absence of Presence. There we go. Yeah, Harold, you're in charge of the props.
Yeah, thank you.
I just subscribed to your channel, by the way, Harold's Prog Rock Show.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Absence of Presence, that album, top to bottom, is phenomenal. I could have picked probably 2 or 3 tracks from that actually, but I had to make way for other albums, so I put the title track. The current lineup is just killing it. Prog Radio, yeah, I'm with you. I'm sorry. Number 9, it's already been mentioned, Magnum Opus. These aren't really in order except for maybe the top 4 or 3. But Magnum Opus, yeah, fantastic. Oh my God, that's amazing. And I was telling you guys that my dad used to be in a band with Lawrence Gowan way back in the 70s. They actually did a song. They used to cover a song from that album. It was called Opus Insert.
I love that track.
It's a great track. It's a great track. But and anyway, Magnum Opus, the last track, that it just time signature changes galore. That's drummer's heaven, right?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Number 8, I know that this is on my greatest hits album that I have, and I know that no one has mentioned this thus far, but Fight Fire with Fire. It doesn't have Steve Walsh on it, but I love the song. It's got a great riff. I just think it's a great tune. And, it's more of a metallic side almost kind of Kansas. I love hard rock too. So that riff, I was right into it. I love that song. Number 7 is Questions of My Childhood from Overture.
Good.
Yeah, that's a great tune. That whole album is awesome, and there's more from that album coming up soon. From Mask, It Takes a Woman's Love. This is not really one of the more proggy songs. This is more of the classic rock, traditional. When you think of classic rock, this is kind of the type of music that comes to mind, right?
Yeah.
That song. But I love classic rock. That's why we're here. So that's my number 6. Number 5 is Miracles Out of Nowhere. And I listened to it again today, just before the stream, just to make sure it belonged on this list, and it absolutely does.
Yeah, it does.
That's amazing. It's just awesome.
Everything that makes Kansas perfect, wonderful, special, all right there in a 5-minute track. Are you kidding me?
Well, more on the specialness of Kansas very, very soon. Like right now. Number 4, Carry On My Wayward Son. Obviously, that's the song that, us younger folk, that's probably the first one, like Wayne said, that we heard, whether it was on TV show or just listening to the radio, or, because that's the one that, it's all the time. Like, people who don't know Kansas love that song, Yeah. And that's like, for the longest time, that was one of the only Kansas songs I knew until, I got into my teens and got into prog rock. But number 3, the title track to Point of No Return. I cannot believe that no one has written that yet, but I think that is absolutely fantastic. That's just an amazing song. And that was a hit single, and all the time changes in that. It was the 70s, man. It was the 70s.
Hey, look who joined the stream. I mean, we've had royalty in the stream so far. I don't mean to cut you off in the middle of your thought, Cody, but once again, I need to be a little more attentive to the peanut gallery, or so I've been told. But hey, we've got the great Mark Anthony K from Project Gemini. Mark Anthony has been a guest on here. We have Tara in the peanut gallery, been a guest on here. We've got Kyle in the peanut gallery, French vinyl addict. It's almost like a who's who of previous and future panelists on the show. And I just wanted to say a big thanks to all of them for having been on the show before. And hopefully again one day they all will be, because we love you guys, and every single person who's been a part of this, either on the panel or in the peanut gallery. We love you. Cody, continue.
Yeah, well, I echo everything Scott just said. Yeah, we've had lots of cool people here feature with us all the time. Number 2 and number 1 are absolutely not interchangeable. You cannot switch these. These are cemented. These are cemented, especially my number 1. I'm really excited to talk about that. But we got to get through number 2 first. Portrait, He Knew, from the Point of No Return album. That is a fantastic song. I listen to, obviously, now that I'm a DJ on Deep Nuggets Radio starting in 2 weeks, I've heard a lot of these songs actually for the first time on there. And like they played Portrait a lot, and of course the #1 song I heard on there a couple months back. It's like, oh, I love this. And then I bought the CD when you said that we were doing this show for Mask, and I went back and bought the CD, and I was listening to this song again. I was like, this is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard. It is Icarus, Born on the Wings of Steel. Oh my God,
buddy.
chills. I get chills listening to that thing. It is absolutely amazing. That part at the end where Steve Walsh kind of repeats the refrain way like later in the song, and it's just him and like the violins there. It is like if Kansas, if I didn't know any better, people could think if someone didn't know any better and heard that and didn't really know much about Kansas, they could have swore that was Yes. That's how good that is.
Yeah,
that's how good that is. I mean, it obviously doesn't sound like Yes, but at the same time, it has that beautiful feeling that you get when you listen to stuff like Soon and all those other beautiful angelic sort of John Anderson moments. Kansas has got it there in that song, and it is absolutely amazing. Obviously, the riffs in it are fantastic, but that has some of the most wonderful vocal melodies that I've heard, and Steve Walsh is an absolute legend.
Yeah,
that is just I get chills even thinking about that song. I love it.
Amazing.
Beautiful.
I need a drink.
Good call. Steve Walsh's voice is actually like a before he absolutely destroyed it with cocaine. Was a force of nature. It really was. And the story goes that they knew they had a good lead singer, right? I mean, you can't have Steve Walsh in your band and not have figured that much out. But they said they didn't really know just how good he was until they started listening to the playbacks of the debut album. And they all look at each other and like, oh my God, we've got, not only do we have a good lead singer in this band, we have a world-class, God broke the mold kind of lead singer in Steve Walsh. I stand by him, one of the greatest singers of all time. I love him.
Yep.
So yeah.
That had to be a fantastic.
I got to say one more thing. I'm so sorry, but I'm totally smitten by the amazing bass playing on these albums and the great musicianship all around. Absolutely, but the bass tone, it's so good. It's so chunky. It's so great. And obviously Jerry Lindgren and Phil Ehart. Honorable mentions to the Steve Hackett tracks that those two guys, Steve Walsh and Phil Ehart or Air. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but they did 2 tracks on Steve's solo album, Please Don't Touch. So shout out to those.
Yeah, great stuff.
I love that album.
Had to say you had to be a good singer if you had Steve Hackett wanting to work with you.
Yeah. Amazing.
Good call. Good list, Cody. For a guy that hasn't had Kansas in his life all that long, I think he nailed it. He gets it, obviously. And
I'm the guy that hasn't been alive all that long, bro.
That's right. But, that's why Cody is one of the bright lights in our little corner of the music world that we call Prog on YouTube, and he's expanding into everything. He talked about all his radio shows he's involved with. Cody, you're one of a kind. Good job. And we're going to turn it over to Pontus, the Swedish prog nerd, who's going to enlighten us with the 10 greatest Kansas songs through the lens of a weird dude way up there in Scandinavia living outside Stockholm. What's he know about being a wheathead, man? Kansas is a quintessential American band. He don't know nothing about Kansas. Prove me wrong.
Not the wheathead.
Prove me wrong.
I've never been to Kansas.
Most Americans haven't been to Kansas either.
I haven't been to Kansas.
What do I know about a bunch of farmers from Kansas, as Dave Hope said? The thing is, in '88, I met a friend of mine for the first time. We were on sort of a course together, and he sort of introduced me to a lot of music. And one of the bands were Kansas.
Mm.
So my introduction was Point of No Return.
Oh, nice.
I bought that. I bought his copy because at that time he was very into CD, and I wanted to go into CD. So I bought his vinyl copy. He had the album on CD, and you can imagine he had to import these albums from the US to get them on CD in the late 80s. So, and then he made me a few tapes from the 7480 group, and I just fell in love with it. I just think it's one of the great prog bands, and it goes for different sort of shades. It goes from this sort of bombastic prog from the first 3 albums, then they go a bit like, you know, AUR prog, like you know, they have the pop hit as well, and then they go all Christian sort of CMC music, and then they are arena rockers, and now they're back at the old hunt again with a special brand of prog. My take on this is actually I listen to all the albums, but my heart is very, very firm in the 1974-1980 group. I think that is a core band, but there's so much good music. I mean, the Vinyl Confessions album is just fantastic with John Elefanti. You have the one from '95 that was just fantastic. The new ones are great. So if I don't have any of the 10 songs, because as you said, this band, when they were on, they were so on.
Yeah.
They, you know, those 7 albums, they are 10 out of 10, and they are very varied because they go from sort of southern rock to out there, you know, like the best Yes track that Never Yes did. You know, they are very versatile in what they're doing during those early albums. So here it goes. My number 10 is from Song for America, and it's The Devil Game.
Ah.
I love it. That's a good track.
I love that. I want to make a statement for Robbie Steinhardt's vocals as well, because I think this band has a lot of southern rock things going, and I think to a certain degree they use their voices as the way that Dwayne Allman and Dickie Betts use their guitars. Sometimes they duel with each other, sometimes they blend into each other, and The Devil Game is just a fantastic case because they sing in harmony, and then they have different sort of antagonist sort of roles in this song. So save me, and you know, have all these sort of great vocals going, and it's a great track. It has this sort of energy to it that's just fantastic.
Yep.
And you have those very cinematic songs like my number 9, Shinania Anthem. You know, it's just a beautiful song about Indian culture and the children singing, and you have all the trappings of a jazz song with all the, you know, the naughty stuff and all, you know, it's just fantastic. Yeah. My number 8, I changed it because someone else mentioned it, so I changed it to another song from that album, and that is Closet Chronicles.
Yeah, good one.
A fantastic song from the Point of No Return album, which is just where both men are singing very well. And I mean, Phil Earhart's drumming.
Yeah,
I mean the machine gun drumming of his fills. Yes, they just fit the music. You know, he really listens. He's one of those orchestrating drummers. Where were we? We were at number 7, Icarus, Born on Wings of Steel. What a fantastic riff that is. You know, it just
agreed.
And it just go, and he goes like, and when he goes like, I won't come down no more, and he goes very high. It gives me goosebumps all the time.
That's
You
what
know,
I'm talking about, man.
It's really, you know, he's fucking meaning it. You know, he's really.
Sail on, dun, 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 sail on. Ah,
Oh yes,
Awesome.
yes, yes.
so
Yeah.
good, man, so good.
And we're fucking gonna stay on that album. We're gonna
Okay,
stay on
why
that
not?
album
Why not?
because here's the problem with this band. They made two great epics, but they split them up
Yeah.
in the middle. And
Mm.
live they play them together. And what the hell are you gonna do with that? I put, you know, I
Call it
broke
one
the
song,
rules.
man.
I broke the rules. Mystery and mayhem into the pinnacle.
Yeah.
That's a
'Cause
good one.
they-
And I might have a twofer on my list as well, but it's not going to be that one.
No, but that is so fantastic. And here is another example where the two singers are really accompanying each other. They did there's so much good. And at the end, they sing this sort of da 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 da, and there's a little guitar flourish before the great solo in the end, and it's just one of those goosebumps moments again. Just
Yeah.
that little flourish, you know, it's just fantastic. A song way back in '88. This was a favorite of mine when I first heard Point and Road Turn, and that is Paradox.
Yeah.
Mm.
That rhythm, that, you know, it's just I like the rhythms, man. This drummer could do it. This band was a great ensemble playing the stuff.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Yeah, and another great riff, great song, which again, the lyrics of this band is a thinking man's band. You go in there and you always want to know what books they're going through. And I mean, this song is about death. This is a song called Child of Innocence.
Yeah.
Nice.
Great riff.
Right.
Great riff. Fantastic. I mean, da 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 da. It's just fantastic. And number 3 for me is Journey to Maria Braun.
Mhm.
Who could not dig this song? I mean, if you're a Prog fan, if you're a Jess fan, if you're a Genesis fan, and you hear this, you must go in here. You know, it's time to listen. This really makes them one of America's best prog bands.
No doubt.
Or maybe the best.
Maybe the best, yes. From my number 2 is a favorite of mine, which is from the Monolith album. I love the lyrics to this song. I think it's both beautiful, it's heavy at the same time. It goes through the emotions. It's really fantastic. It's called Angels Have Fallen.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's just, you know, that lyric, you know, it's just it's you that must find them by living each day. You know,
Hey, man, we've been talking so much about Steve Walsh's voice and how amazing Steve Walsh sounded on. What about Robbie? What about his vocals?
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
Angels Have Fallen is a
He's
real
just
nice
fantastic.
showcase for him.
The guy that they have
my
singing
number
for them
1.
now, the guy that they have singing for them now is really good too.
Yeah. Ron Platt. Yeah, he's just fantastic. I love those albums. But my number 1, and here is the other epic that should have been a sidelong epic, but somebody decided to squeeze them into 2 halves. But never mind. I love it. Upper Coup, Death of Mother Nature Suite.
Yeah.
That is my absolute favorite for today. It can change anytime.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so much songs to be honorable mentions. I mean, on the Vinyl Confessions album, we have Crossfire, we have Diamonds and Pearls, we have Musicato from the Power album. We're Not Alone Anymore from that album as well. And there's plenty. And if you never got into Kansas, just do it.
Yeah.
Just grab it, because you're gonna find yourself in a very good position.
Yes,
As a prog.
absolutely.
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, unless you start with Drastic Measures or Vinyl Confessions, you're probably going to become a fan, right? I mean,
Yeah.
every band
In
has
Spirit
little
of
peaks and
Things.
valleys, but overall, a very consistent discography. I think we can all agree that the first 6 or 7 are going to be where most of our favorites are going to be from. But I'm just wondering if Alex is going to have some surprises up his sleeve. Here we go. I've got an American on the panel with me, and not just an American, but an Ohioan. So I'm curious to know what your history with Kansas is, where you rank them in the pantheon of great prog bands, and how you came about discovering them and what they mean to you, Alex.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you talk about American prog, right? Yeah, you can get down the road of like progressive metal and all that stuff later if you include that in the genre. But yeah, I mean, I don't think you get any better than Kansas. Interestingly enough, the first time I probably heard Kansas, like so many others, was on the radio hearing "Carry On, Wayward Son." Yes, I know it was in the comments. It's "Carry On, Wayward Son" in the title. There's no "my." Cody, get it right, man. No, I'm just kidding. The people get upset about these things.
They do, but Alex, I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm the guy who spells my name with 1 T.
Well, yeah.
I have learned from a very early age to let stuff go. Keep the main stuff, like LeBron James would say, right?
Yeah, well, we got to hold up the credibility in some ways, No, just kidding. But it was like hearing that stuff, and it's been said before, and I think potentially Americans have a little bit of a difference. A lot of times, a different perspective, because I think for a lot of our international friends, all they heard and all they had exposure to were those radio hits. And I think the other thing too is, timing played such a role. It's like it came out, those songs came out at the same time as the Boston self-titled and debut. You had sort of Steve Perry Journey on the horizon. You had, you had the Babies on the horizon. You had Styx at the time. So it was all just sort of lumped together. I'm on a weekly live stream with somebody who will refuse to listen to Kansas. And he's a huge prog fan. He's Canadian, no offense. He's Canadian. The only thing he's ever heard is Dust in the Wind and Carry On Wayward Son. And he refuses because he puts them in the same category as Styx and Foreigner and all that AOR stuff. And so, I mean, I think, people are here watching it. They know how progressive this band is. And probably the best American prog band.
Not everybody, Alex. We've had a couple of those comments in the live chat already. People saying it's just Foreigner, Boston, Journey. It's nothing to see here. Just move along. They're wrong. They're dead wrong. And you're going to straighten them out with your top 10, Alex.
I am.
This really sounds like Waiting for a Girl Like You. That's what I hear.
Now, I'll say too, nothing on my list is from their most recent two, Prelude Implicit or Absence of Presence. I really like both of those records. So if you wrote off Kansas a while ago because Steve Walsh or Carey or those different things, those are two really strong letter career records. I just don't have them, and they're not respected, or they're not shown here. Last thing too, I'll say one honorable mention first because it's not on the list. But I think if you had 2 minutes of the best Kansas music ever, it would be The Spider. And it's not on here just because it's, because of what it is. But I think, God, again, if anybody's like, Kansas prog, they're AOR, they sound like Foreigner. I'm like, here's 2 minutes. Here's The Spider. So there's that. Now, my 9 and 10 have some asterisks by them because they're more things that mean something to me personally. I probably don't actually put them in like my favorites, but for the sake of the episode, I wanted to talk about these. This is a little bit of a guilty pleasure. This is not a great album, but someone mentioned it earlier. I'm a huge, huge Steve Morse fan. And for me, to celebrate, Steve Morse and the Dixie Dregs are going on tour. They got a big North American tour happening. Jordan Rudess is playing keyboards and piano with them on the tour.
Got Andy West, got Rod Morgenstein, the whole band's back together, man. It's gonna be awesome.
And so, like anybody should on this panel, I'm going back to I'm going back to Power for my number 10. I love how this kicks off. Silhouettes in Disguise. Okay. So I love that song. I absolutely love it. I just think, it's a great, just sort of nothing too fancy, nothing too complex. The guitar solo is great. And I wanted to just give a shout out to Steve Morse. And that's just a great song. So we'll start with that.
I like that album, man.
Yeah.
Great. Absolutely.
Yeah, awesome. My number 9 is the other one. I wanted to include one hit in here because a lot of times when the prog nerds go down the corners, they're not including the hits. But I was like, you know what? I'm going to include a hit, and I really like this song. Now, when I say I like this song, I think the intro is, the intro instrumental bit. It's great, but it's kind of cheesy and a little bit like DTD for me. But this chorus gets stuck in my head all the time, and I think a brutally underrated album. I'm going with "People of the Southwind."
Yeah,
The single, the hit from Monolith. I just that chorus kicks in, and I'm not a drummer, but I'm hitting that ride the whole time. Just thumping. I love "People of the Southwind," and again, really leaning into that the lyric of Native Americans, and there's a lot more to see where that came from. But I think as a single, I love "People of the Southwind." So those are the 4 emotional ones out of there. So let's jump up to number 8. I appreciate when I have things that haven't been mentioned because it just shows how strong this band is, right? Especially those first 5 or 6, those first 6 records, right? We haven't talked about this one. We're going back to "Song for America" for this one. I'm going with Lamplight Symphony.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Great.
Love that song. There's just so many to choose from, and it's even I'll get to a point on this here in a second, but even the songs that you're listening to, maybe the verse, and you're like, okay, this is cool, this is good. You listen to the chorus, you're like, oh, this is great, we're getting there. Then they'll put in a 2-minute instrumental bit that blows your mind. Absolutely blows your mind, and there'll be more on that here in a second.
Okay.
This has gotten said a couple of different times, but yeah, I'm going with Icarus. My number 7 here, Born in Wings of Steel. Totally. Just everything that's been said about it. Wonderful, beautiful. It's got it all. The Steve Walsh thing was interesting, as some people might know, and or might not. I started the Prog tag for the vinyl or CD collectors out there. And one of the questions on the tag was, who's your favorite Prog vocalist? And, there's probably 25 people who have done this. And I don't think anyone mentioned Steve Walsh. It's a lot of the John Wettons or John Andersons and, that kind of stuff, which obviously
all the Johns.
But Steve Walsh in his prime, there was nothing like Steve Walsh in his prime. And that's no disrespect on Robbie. They have very different voices. But, yeah, just insane. Number 6, this has also not been mentioned. And this is what I was getting at, where this band was just, I think of a band like Dream Theater, right? Not to bury any leads, but they're my favorite band of all time. And one of the signature Dream Theater things that I think they really took from Kansas was these extended multi-instrumental unison lines. You would have Robbie doing something and it was unison and it was mirrored on the guitar or on the piano and keyboard. And to me, the best example of this is some kind of trippy neoclassical type stuff. But going back here, I'm going with the Lightning's Hand. Again, just some complex, almost neoclassical, doesn't sound like anything else they've done, but they're doubling up on those instruments and that virtuosity that a lot of people don't think of when they think of Kansas. That was mirrored down the road.
Man, you had everybody playing that riff. You had Dave, Rich, Carrie, and Steve with Robbie on the fiddle, all playing all in unison, just blowing my mind. Yeah.
And there were not other prog bands who were really doing that. They would be dabbling in it here and there, but obviously that type of stuff would come a lot later. And again, I shout out Dream Theater just because they do it on every song, it seems like now. But it's that was such a thing that they did it better than anybody at the time. So yeah.
I want to add something to that, Alex, not to cut you off, but I want to add something. If there's any Kansas fan that's maybe doesn't really know about Dream Theater, there's a couple of Dream Theater songs that could make a Kansas fan turn into a Dream Theater song. Listen to a track called Another Day.
Sure.
Man, that song is absolutely amazing. And there's some definite Kansas influence there. You can hear it. And there's definite connections. Sorry, I didn't mean
No, absolutely. Yeah. And hugely influenced. They, not to go on a Dream Theater thing, but they covered the parts of Carry On Wayward Son for their Change of Seasons EP, where they did sort of their medley of cover songs. So obviously hugely influenced. This has been mentioned, but it's too good not to. We're going for number 5. We're going to the Pinnacle.
Yeah.
Off of Mask. I think I'm curious what people's favorite Kansas record is, because I've always, before the show, it was always to me, it's Point of No Return or Left Overture. It's one of the two. And then going back listening to all these, I'm going, I don't know what it is. Like I don't know what my favorite is because they're all outstanding. Those first five.
I'm in the same boat, Alex. I'm always been, and I've been on record. For me, it's always been Leftoverture or the debut.
Yeah.
But listening to these records the last couple weeks, getting ready for this, I don't know, man. Song for America is pretty good. Mask is pretty good. Point of No Return's pretty good. Monolith and Audio Visions sound real good to these ears. What a band. What a band.
Yeah. Absolutely. This has gotten mentioned once or twice, but yeah, it's up there for me totally. We're going back to Point of No Return. We're going Closet Chronicles at my number 4.
That's a great album.
Just amazing. I mean, perfect in every single way. Absolutely love it. Yeah. What more is there to say? Now, here's what I'll say.
I like the live version of Closet Chronicles. Ian's like, what about the live album? Well, yeah. The version of Closet Chronicles on this one, just amazing. What a great live album.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
And one that doesn't get mentioned, when we talk about Seconds Out or Yes Songs, all that type of stuff, I'm like, 2 for the Show's up there. Like, we got to put that up there.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right, we're back to number 3. Now, here's where I'll get kicked off the stream. Actually, you know what? I'll engage the peanut gallery and see how the people feel about it, Scott, right?
Yeah.
So, number 3, I'm going with Inkamudro, Hymn to the Atman. Now, I love the song. I think it's a nearly perfect epic, and I'm gonna go be a contrarian, not to steal your contrarian title there, Pontus. If you want to have Martin send me a bill, that's fine. But I'm curious how people in the chat feel about drum solos in general, and then drum solos, especially on studio records. I mentioned the same thing last week when we were talking about Jethro Tull and Thick as a Brick. It was like, I love Thick as a Brick. It's one of the greatest compositions in the history of the world. I could probably take or leave the drum solo, and I feel the same way. I could take or leave it. It's like a rug. It doesn't upset me. It doesn't bring me joy. It's a rug. I said, if someone asked me how I feel about that rug, I'd say it's fine. And someone asked me how I feel about a drum solo and a studio record, I'd say it's fine. It doesn't hurt me, but I'm not going to call somebody and tell them how much I love it either. So, yeah.
Well, here's another question to go off on yet another tangent about the drum solos. Does it matter the drum solo on a live album versus a studio album? Because to me, the drum solo on Perpetual Change that Bill Bruford tries or attempts, I don't know what he's doing. It sounds absolutely terrible, but it's a live album, so you kind of forgive him. Whereas if it's baked into a studio version, man, it better be perfect, right? So does that make a difference?
The drum solo here, man.
Ringo!
How about the drum solo to Moby Dick?
Ringo!
Led Zeppelin.
There are so many different examples, and I think there's also, there's some of those songs that do it more, tastefully, where it's part of the song. You think of like Tom Sawyer and that type of stuff, where there's that very definitive drum part and sort of that bridge coming out of moved into that last part. But yeah, I mean, again, take it or leave it. One thing I don't know that I care for as much specifically with this version is production. They put like a phaser on it, and so it goes it tries to give it like a whirling sort of effect, and I just don't think it makes the drums sound all that good to my ears. But I'm also not trained in this area, so yeah, again, I love the song. It's my number 3.
I think that it's an effect for the times, really.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could totally see that. It gives it that kind of that whirling sort of effect, much like the weather we're experiencing down here today. Hey, Scott?
Yeah. It's hey, welcome to Ohio, people. And that's all right, because we have no snow on the ground right now, and it's getting towards the tail end of January. So what's going on? I have no idea. I'm not complaining. I'm not a big fan of driving on the ice and snow. I'm a Florida boy, so all this Ohio weather has got me a little confused, man. I'll admit it, but yeah.
Totally. And actually, Cody, seeing your comment right there, again, jumping on that when you're talking about As I Am there, Mike has said that it was like, he was like, that was my Tom Sawyer moment. Like he didn't lift it. They're different, but he was like, that was what I wanted to be my Tom Sawyer moment there. So,
and it is, and it's very fun to play if you can nail it down.
Oh, I bet. Number 2, it's been mentioned. I appreciate the people who are combining a couple of the tracks that just flow right into each other.
Have to.
For the longest time, I couldn't tell the difference. I thought I was still listening to one, and then I was, because I'm listening to these on vinyl. It's like I was still listening to one. And I was like, wait, when did that cross over to the other one? So if I could cheat and include Aperçu in it, but really Death of Mother Nature Suite for number 2 for me. Man, when they just come in with that, and now she's going to die. Oh my God, I'm getting the chills. It's just like, oh, this is bad. What I will say, and maybe this is one of the reasons you love this one so much, Scott, is like there's just an attitude with this one, right? Just how it's. I mean, there's some heavier moments, but not like metal moments. I don't know. It just kind of has like this attitude to it, and that song especially. They're like, ooh, and now she's gonna die. Oh, love it.
Yeah.
Every time.
I just think it's there's something about the first album to me, because I take them at their word when they did not realize what they were or who they were until they actually hit that playback and heard for the first time with actual good, audio techniques and whatnot back in the, 1974 or whatever. But I don't think they knew how good they were. And I think they're actually hearing it, and you hear a little bit of that confidence starting to build up. And it's just a magical thing. There's an innocent vibe to it. They hadn't quite figured out exactly who they wanted to be when they grew up, but it didn't matter. They were having so much fun doing what they were doing that the destination of those first 6 or 7 Kansas albums, and it all starts with that debut. Yeah, I just love it, man. It's one of my favorite albums of all time, for sure, and everybody knows it, and I don't care.
Absolutely.
Great.
And my number 1, the drum roll. This has been mentioned a couple times. I knew this was going to be my number 1. I don't know that I would say it's the best. There are more complex, there are more majestic, all those different things. But this song was just always beautiful. It spoke to me. Wayne made a great point of, he said, the first time I heard this song, I think I listened to it 8 more consecutive times. It has always just given me chills. It's always had an emotional connection to me. The lyrics are just beautiful, and it's just amazing. My number 1 is Cheyenne Anthem from Left Overture. And I'll say this too. You throw a children's choir in a song, I'm in. When those, when the kids come in, I'm like, oh, it's great. I'm like, oh, get my chills.
Mountains.
Right.
That's awesome.
That's it.
John Heisman for the win. Tara's got the right comment. If you don't like drum solos, go on YouTube and just punch in John Heisman drum solo, and tell me there was a better drummer that ever lived than him. He just
and just lost him last year maybe?
Yeah, like 2 years ago.
Yeah,
unbelievable.
Totally. Yeah. So Cheyenne Anthem, my number 1.
Wow.
But yeah, tons of great honorables. A lot of them that have been mentioned. One thing I'll say, Song of America, but Song of America, the album version, because they did release a single version of it that is not the 10-minute joyous thing that we all love and hear. I included All the World off Mask. Beautiful song. Love that. I really like On the Other Side, the song that kicks off Monolith. I think that was a great way to kick off. What I will say about them, Kansas, is that they always had a very interesting approach to sequencing that I don't know that I always agreed with, but I understood. And so it was typically the sequencing was just kicking off with sort of the, something very accessible, very friendly, which I can totally understand why you would want to do that. But then also a lot of times I feel like those songs didn't completely represent exactly, what would come later, which is totally fine too. So,
and that's an interesting point. And one thing we have not mentioned at all about Kansas is it's not like they were, toiling under the auspices of some unknown, decrepit record label that had very limited funds. This was Kirshner. There was money to be made. He smelt blood in the water, and he wanted to wring some hits out of these boys, man. Absolutely, he did. So, we're leading off their debut album with Can I Tell You? Absolutely, we are. Song for America doesn't start with Song for America. Absolutely, it does not. Mask has those 2 rock tracks. This was obviously a ploy by the Kirshner people to try to break a band in America that, let's face it, they were having some trouble, man. I don't think they would have survived if Left Overtures hadn't have been a hit. I think they were gone. I think that was like their final hurrah. And man, did they deliver the goods. Because you look at those first 3 Kansas albums, man, nobody cared about this band. But I did. My brother went and saw them back in 1974. They were supporting somebody for their new album, and he told me about them. And I got a hold of it and Song for America, and I fell in love. So I have been a huge fan of this band for a long time. I'm super biased. There's absolutely zero objectivity on this list, but there is one rule on my list. As per usual, the 1 per album rule is in effect, which makes it interesting, man, because now I gotta put a song for my 10th favorite Kansas album on this list. Right. And the 9th and the 8th. So, because everybody knows there's going to be a song from the top 7 on here, which are, of course, the first 7. So at number 10 from 1986, I'm going to support Power a little bit with Musicato. Yeah, I know it's not really a song and that it's a, more of an instrumental type of thing, but I kind of dig this new Kansas, right? This Steve Walsh and Steve Morse coming together and kind of making stuff sound a little like Kansas, but kind of not like Kansas at all. And I thought they split the difference real nicely with that song. I think you had Silhouettes.
Yep.
There was another entry for that. But at number 9, the very next album, it's the violin-free era, which I actually kind of dug a little bit. From In the Spirit of Things, that final track, The Bells of St. James, I think is absolutely beautiful. I think the Bob Ezrin production here actually works to the band's advantage. Although we're talking 1988 or whatever, nobody cared about Kansas at this point. It was a hopeless battle. At number 8, they tried to, bring everybody back in 2000, but Kerry Livgren wasn't going to tour. He didn't really want this to be like a permanent thing, but just for one last hurrah, man, they did that album where everybody got together. And I'm going to go with Distant Vision off this album. I really like this track. I think Kerry was giving the band some really good material. Icarus 2 definitely could have made the list. Just a really, really solid album. At number 7, Alex, you were dead right, man. People of the Southwind. Listen to the musicality of Robbie Steinhardt. He's playing the violin completely different on this track than any other song he's ever played. He'd been listening to some disco tracks, that disco glissando that he uses right after the choruses leading into the verse makes you think you're listening to, something Marilyn McCoo might be laying down at that particular time. Just an amazing track. I love it. At number 6, song that should have been on Monolith, but apparently Steve Walsh and Kerry Livgren are having a big old, pissing contest over who got more songs on Monolith, and Steve Walsh won. So How My Heart Cries Out For You made the list, and No One Together got jobbed, but that's okay. It had its revenge in 1980 as being the absolute standout track on 1980s Audio Visions, an absolute masterclass in how to write an amazing song. Probably Kerry Livgren's last perfect song. Now I'm doing a little cheating at number 5, man. I'm going with the, we're putting stuff together. Aperçu and Death of Mother Nature Suite, I think, is a natural fit. Absolutely. Mysteries and Mayhem and The Pinnacle. But I'm going with the Spider and Portrait He Knew. To me, it's one song. It all blends in together. The Spider might be the best 2 minutes of music they ever did. But then it goes right into a top 40 hit that doesn't suck. I just love it. It's amazing. At number 4, I mentioned it a second ago. You start your career, your whole entire career begins with an Anacrusis snare hit. And then the violin comes in. It's Can I Tell You? And this is just a perfect track to get you deep into what Kansas were all about. Yeah, we got a fiddle player, and just love it. At number 3, it's been mentioned, and why wouldn't it be? It's kind of like a pocket symphony, everything that Kansas does well. all in a neat little wrapper. It's called Miracles Out of Nowhere, and it's so good they named the documentary in honor of it. It's a perfect song. There's absolutely not a note out of place. It's amazing. So how in the world do I have 2 songs ahead of it? I don't know. That's how amazing this band is, man. At number 2, I'm going off of Mask. I'm going with Icarus.
Oh, yeah.
This gets me every time. And just, I normally don't love the fade out songs. That is why the title track to Point of No Return didn't make my list. But I'm going with Icarus here, just emotional impact that I feel every time I hear it. It's amazing. At number 1.
That's what I'm saying, man.
The track that you need to have, the most important, and to me, the best track, the one that emblemizes everything they do. And it's kind of one of it is their longest song. It's Song for America. I love it. It's perfect. I still feel the chills as an American, and maybe it resonates perhaps a little bit stronger for me. It's the story of an entire continent being dominated by a bunch of people that don't need to be there, but we can also use it as a patriotic kind of thing too. But it's actually a song against colonialism and what the American pioneers were doing, killing all the buffalo and just destroying everything that they saw in their wake. But here we are, Song for America. To me, their greatest track. But how do you keep Magnum Opus off, man? I mean,
I was wondering how you did that.
It's the one per album rule, and it hurts. That's the Mother Nature suite. How do you keep that off? How do you keep the Pinnacle off? But yeah, the one per definitely. It put Musicato on the list, but it was more fun that way for me just to go with one per, and just to show that there's some depth and some range. And I'll tell you, even those last 2 albums, man, I really dig them. Zach Risby wrote some really good material. Mm-hmm. I think he might be missed more than people think. He's no longer in the band, but we got Tom Brislin in the band now, so I think they're going to be all right. David Ragsdale's no longer in the band, but they just brought in a new violin player. He's been in the business forever, so I think they're going to be all right. But the Prelude Implicit, I really dig. I just love that album for a comeback album. How long had it been, man? It had been 16 years since we had a Kansas album. They come back with a really, really strong one. Then a couple years later, The Absence of Presence.
We got a comment about that in the comment thread here.
The future is very, very bright for Kansas. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't keep recording. And they're signed to Inside Out Records, so that's kind of a nice thing.
They're going to support them, yeah.
And I think that gives them enough artistic freedom that they don't feel like they have to, try to write a hit or anything like that. So I've always loved Kansas. I've seen them. Might have been one of the last shows I've actually been to was Kansas.
So Scott, I'm seeing them down our street here in April. So
yeah.
So
they're
that's
coming.
April. They're playing outside. They're in Newark. So yeah.
What's the venue like over there?
Just classic, beautiful theater.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I've never been that way, so I don't get out of the house too much. It's hard for me to justify. I hate driving, and I especially hate driving at night. So we'll see. Maybe I'll go. But when I saw them, I gotta say, their lead singer. I know Steve Walsh is no longer in the band. People, I understand that, but this guy Ronnie Platt is just awesome, man, and he's been awesome for a long, long time. I mentioned Yezda Urpa as one of the great American obscure prog bands from the 70s. Well, guess what? When they reunited for, what was it, Nearfest or something back in 2004, guess who they had as their lead singer? Yeah, none other than Ronnie Platt. He's amazing. And we still have 2 original members in the band, even if they're not playing every night. I guess lately there's been I know Phil and Rich have not been in the best of health, but hopefully Kansas will last forever. I love them. They're one of my favorite bands in the world. So, yeah, and we even got people talking about the solo albums.
Wow.
That Steve Walsh first solo album cover is a thing of beauty. Like, I remember the first time, like, when we were talking originally when we started these live streams, worst album covers or whatever. And I seen the Steve Walsh one, and I'm like, that is not bad. That is amazing. Just with him there with like the Magnum and everything. But going back to Tom Brislin, the first time I ever seen him in anything was Symphonic Yes.
Yeah.
And as soon as I seen him, I'm like, when did they let Ryan from The Office start playing keyboards?
What I love about Tom Brislin is, if you notice, every Yes keyboard player, it doesn't matter who it is, Wakeman, Mraz, Jeff Downs, Oliver Wakeman, and you just line up the keyboard solos with the studio versions. I'm sorry, the only one that ever did it even close to right was Tom Brislin. It's like the rest of them clowns, Igor included. He didn't. Wakeman's the absolute worst, by the way. He will never go back and listen to any of his old recording. He just plays whatever he wants to play, and it drives everybody crazy. Tom Brislin was that guy that actually went back and actually tried to reproduce the keyboard parts perfectly. I love him. He's amazing. And he sang on the last album, too. They actually gave him a track to sing on. So there's a whole lot to be excited about in Kansas land. I'm excited about what the future might hold for them. And, you know, they had a little push with a Supernatural not long ago. Remember that TV show? Carry On Wayward Son was a big part of that. And I know they went to Comic-Con, and apparently they were playing in front of like a bunch of kids, young kids that had never even heard of Kansas, but knew the song. So it's exciting to see a prog band get some kind of notice in, you know, in the larger world, as it were. Anybody you got a Kansas story, Alex?
Well, I don't know if it's a story, but I think it's hilarious that the first time I heard Kansas, Carry On Wayward Son, was in a movie for my generation. This was 97, 98. And that was Happy Gilmore. So that was the first time I heard Carry On Wayward Son. So,
Yeah, I just remember hearing that on the radio all the time growing up. You know, my parents all loved classic rock, and that was one of the go-to songs all the time, you know. Carry On Wayward Son.
Talking about Tom Brislin, wasn't he also part of Renaissance?
Yeah. I've seen Tom Brislin in the Netherlands with Yes and with Renaissance.
There you go. So obviously a super talented guy. Kansas is lucky to have him. So I'm really super excited to see what comes next for them. And you know, maybe we'll do Kansas again, but next week, boys and girls, oh man, it's gonna be an exciting episode next week. And I know we're going a little bit outside of our comfort zone, and I know there's gonna be a little pushback, a little bit of resistance, you know, from my boomer audience that may or may not be 100% crazy about Dream Theater, but that's what we're doing next week. And yes, Jordy, Tom Brislin was also in The Sea Within with Marco Minimum, Jonas Reingold, Casey McPherson, Royna Stalt, and Pain of Salvation guy, Daniel Gildenlow. What a great album. They need to come back. Absolutely. But yeah, we're doing Dream Theater, and Alex has stated that Dream Theater is like one of his favorite bands of all time, if not his favorite band.
Yeah.
Cody, I know. Cody's like a super Dream Theater aficionado.
You know,
so guess what, boys and girls? Next week on the program, I'm kind of taking a back seat, and I'll be doing my lists and everything because I do love Dream Theater, but you know, I just want to try to see what we can do, and it's going to be a lot of fun. But then we're going to bounce right back right into the old wheelhouse, the old comfort zone. We're going to Cracker Barrel, boys and girls. We're going to get ourselves some comfort food, and we're doing Genesis. What is that? February 11th. So that's going to be a great show. After that, I don't know. We'll decide. We'll figure out what we want to do after that. But Dream Theater next week. Genesis the week after that. Kevin from Prog Radio is excited about Dream Theater. Ian's not excited about Dream Theater. Rich is excited about Dream Theater. Tara wants to be on the Dream Theater stream. So we've got all kinds of action here. Kyle. What's he talking about? Hanukkah next Sunday. Okay. Huh?
But you might
A belated
consider.
Hanukkah party.
Very belated, man. It's going to be February. What is he talking about?
Scott, you might consider. I know your buddy Pete Pardo is a huge Dream Theater fan. Maybe if he's not busy next Sunday, you might want to reach out to him.
You know, we got our people, man. Pete, we love Pete, but yeah, when we bring Pete Pardo in, I think we'll have to like clear the way and do a special episode where the red carpet gets rolled out, and maybe I'll have some trumpeters playing and stuff. It's gonna be awesome, but
fair enough.
In the meantime, honestly, it does a lot more for me to be on Pete Pardo's show than for Pete Pardo to be on my show. Naomi, we love you. Good to see you in the gallery. Thanks for showing up and showing your love. We love you, and we hope everything's going good for you in the war zone. Terrible everything that's going on over there. But yeah, very belated indeed. Naomi, I'm just running all your things here. Pete Pardo and not busy never go together. That's for sure. But anyway, this was a great stream, everybody. I want to take it around, and you guys can tell everybody what's coming up on your YouTube channels or whatnot. Harold, what's this week looking like for you?
It was a great show to be part of this for the first time. And when possible, I will join with the Dream Theater show and the Genesis show.
Okay, I'll tell you, we might have to make room for Tara somewhere here. I don't know.
I understand.
Let's say you're definitely on the Genesis show, Harold.
Okay, thank you.
I'll let you know about the Dream Theater show.
Yeah.
But, yeah. We're definitely doing it.
I have to be on Genesis. Absolutely, my favorite band of all time.
Yeah. At this point, Wayne and Cody are just automatic. Every Sunday, you can expect to see me, Wayne, and Cody. That's kind of pretty much the permanent members here. But I don't know, man. Pontus, you've become a regular on here. You're like a cold sore that you just can't get rid of.
Yes, of course. Yeah. Once you're in, you don't get out.
That's right. So you're with us for Dream Theater next week.
I love to do that. I would love to do that.
Okay. And we know Alex is a big Dream Theater guy, so he's going to be there with us. It's going to be awesome. But what do you got cooking this week, Alex, on the your great channel, Beer and Vinyl?
Yeah, I mean, it's the two magical things that this world can offer us, right? So,
what else do you need?
Yeah, well, for those who frequent my channel or whatever, I'm part of a number of different live streams. So what's one more? But the big one usually happens on Wednesday evenings. So feel free. It's every Wednesday. We're on somebody else's channel for a couple hours. Then I usually take over on my channel at 10 p.m. Eastern time. Scott, way past your bedtime. I guess.
That's for sure.
Totally understand that. And other than that, I just posted a video yesterday of kind of a mega vinyl budget haul. So basically, I've got about 25 records that I got from a local show that were all $5 each, and they were all in just really great condition. It was just a really cool thing. So yeah, feel free to stop by, say hello, and all that good stuff. So yeah,
awesome, good lineup today. I gotta say, this was awesome. So next week, Dream Theater. The week after that, Genesis, and then after that, we'll see what happens. But thank you to everyone joining us today, talking about the mighty Kansas band that I absolutely rank as the #1 American prog band of all time, if for no other reason that, they put 7 straight albums out that were just amazing. And all their rivals can't say that. But, the one rival that's been close these days, I'm just going to say, we will be doing a Styx episode at some point. I just found out that one of our panelists has brushes with greatness with a member of Styx, so it's going to be exciting. And if you guys want some homework to do, the last 2 Styx albums, man, the Mission,
Crash of the Crown, far as I'm concerned,
Crash of the Crown,
probably the best album they ever did.
Just incredible. Both 10 out of 10 records.
Yeah.
What's his name? Will Vankovich. the dude that he came from the ashes of what? That Tommy Shaw, that Blades Shaw thing, that spin off from Damn Yankees. He was like just a touring guy. Where did they find this cat, man? This guy is completely transformed Styx into being something amazing. His fingerprints are all over those two albums. I think he's got a co-write on just about every song on both of those albums. So clearly his influence is huge. They made him a permanent member of Styx, an actual member. So yeah, if you look real closely on this album cover, there's people standing around. Yeah, I guess one of them's actually the great Will Evankovich, and we thank him for his service in the great American Prog. I'm glad he's a member of Styx, and maybe we'll do a Styx episode here. I got excited about them. But anyway, you guys, this was great. Thank you for spending a little bit of time. To all the people in the Peanut Gallery, I tried, man. I actually took a couple segments and read a couple things. It's a little better than last time. I promise I'll get better. And to my panelists, Harold, Wayne, Cody, Pontus, and the great Alex from the Beer and Vinyl channel. Thanks. I appreciate you guys. This was a lot of fun. Peace in the Middle East. Free Tibet and God save the king, even though we don't have no king in Kansas. I'll see you punks tomorrow when I do whatever it is I do. I have absolutely no idea at this point, but I think I'll be reviewing the new Steve Hackett album tomorrow. And then I think, a very special, I think I'm going to be interviewing Greg Spotton from Big Big Train next week. So we'll see. And I'm working on a Steve Hackett interview, so that could happen too.
Oh,
who knows?
Cool.
Yeah, who knows?
He's awesome.
In the Prog Corner. So yeah,
he's awesome.
I will see you punks next week. Peace.